It all started with a challenge, one that was supposed to be nothing more than a cruel joke. The kind that rich, untouchable people make when they believe the world dances to their tune. In the heart of a shining corporate tower, where power ruled and hearts were frozen behind glass walls, she stood Elara Sterling, the youngest female CEO in the city's history, known for her brilliance, arrogance, and the cold glimmer in her eyes. And standing before her was a man she never thought she'd see again, Liam Hart, a quiet, stubborn locksmith who once loved her more than his own life, but that day, their worlds collided not in love, but in pride. Elara had thrown down the gauntlet with a smirk that could slice glass. She placed a small, old-fashioned safe on her desk and said, "If you can open this safe, I'll marry you." It was meant as mockery. A cruel reminder that he once had the key to her heart, but no longer did, and then, as the lock clicked open with a whisper and the lid creaked, Elara's smirk vanished. Because inside that safe wasn't money. It wasn't jewels. It was a single folded piece of paper, with her name written in Liam's handwriting. And in that moment, the world seemed to stop. Before we dive deeper into this heart-wrenching story of love, pride, and second chances, if you believe that kindness can heal hearts, that love deserves one more chance, and that fate sometimes finds its way back no matter how lost, please take a moment to. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life. 5 years earlier, Elara Sterling was not a CEO. She was a dreamer, the daughter of a bankrupt man who worked himself to death trying to pay debts he didn't owe. She lived in a one-room apartment, juggling jobs to survive, and holding on to one thing that kept her spirit alive, Liam. He was a locksmith by trade, a craftsman by heart. His hands were rough from metal and tools, but his touch was gentle when it came to her. He believed in her dreams, even when the world didn't. They used to talk for hours on the rooftop of their crumbling building, planning a future that felt impossible, her starting a business, him building a workshop, both of them escaping poverty together. Liam often told her that locks fascinated him because every lock had a key, just like every broken soul had a way to open up again. Elara would laugh and call him a poet trapped in a mechanic's body, but dreams have a cruel way of testing love. When Elara's father died, leaving behind enormous debt, she was forced to make choices that shattered her heart. She accepted an offer from a powerful investor, a ruthless businessman named Victor Cade, who saw potential in her brilliance but demanded everything in return. He funded her startup, gave her a seat at the table, but turned her into something else, someone colder, harder, untouchable. She learned to silence emotion, bury her past, and dress success in arrogance. Liam, heartbroken and confused, tried to fight for her. But she pushed him away, convinced she had no other choice. The night she left him, he gave her a small, handcrafted safe. "It's a promise," he said softly. "Open it only when you remember who you are." She had laughed bitterly then, thinking he was being dramatic. She never opened it. She buried it deep in her office years later, until today, when Liam walked into her life again, it wasn't by chance. The company she now ruled, Sterling Dynamics, was facing a scandal. A high-level data breach had threatened her empire, and she needed the best to handle the damage. The cybersecurity firm she hired sent their top consultant, Liam Hart. He looked different now, more mature, more guarded, his once gentle eyes holding shadows she didn't recognize. The moment their eyes met in the conference room, the air thickened. Memories, unspoken words, regret, everything came crashing back. But Elara, ever the CEO, masked it with a smirk. She spoke to him as if he were just another employee, as if she hadn't once fallen asleep in his arms whispering about forever. Liam, equally composed, treated her like a client. Professional. Distant. But beneath his calm surface, his heart trembled. After hours of tense conversation, when the room finally emptied, Elara made that reckless challenge. She brought out the small safe, the very one he had gifted her years ago, from the corner of her office. She placed it on the table between them and said, with a mocking smile, "You're supposed to be good at opening locked things, aren't you? Open this, and maybe I'll marry you." It was sarcasm, defense, a way to mask her fear of how much seeing him again had shaken her. But when Liam picked up the safe, he didn't laugh. He didn't even look at her. His fingers traced the surface as if he already knew every scratch. It took him less than a minute. With a faint click, the lock gave way. Inside, Elara found something she hadn't expected, a letter. Its edges yellowed, but her name was still written clearly in his familiar handwriting. Her breath caught as she unfolded it. It wasn't a love letter. It was something else. If you're reading this, it began, it means you've forgotten who you are. You've built walls so high, even you can't see over them anymore. But I'll always believe there's still a part of you, the girl who believed in dreams, who laughed in the rain, who said love was worth everything. If you ever find your way back to her, you'll find me there, waiting. Ilara's knees went weak. She had built her empire on confidence and pride, but this broke her. Tears she hadn't shed in years spilled down her face. Liam stood silently, his eyes glistening, but he didn't move toward her. He had already lost her once. He wasn't sure if she wanted to be found again. That night, Ilara couldn't sleep. The words from the letter echoed in her mind like a haunting melody. For the first time, her penthouse felt empty. All the awards, all the luxury, meaningless in the shadow of what she'd sacrificed. She opened her laptop and looked through old photos of her father, her tiny apartment, the rooftop nights with Liam. The girl in those pictures wasn't a CEO. She was alive. The next morning, she went to the old neighborhood. The buildings were worn, the streets familiar but fading. She found Liam's old workshop, dusty, closed. But across the street, she saw him helping a little boy fix a bicycle. He looked peaceful, content, a quiet smile on his face as he guided the child's hands. For a long moment, she simply watched him, her chest tight with emotion she'd buried too long. When he finally noticed her, he froze. She walked over slowly, unsure of what to say. All her practiced speeches vanished. The only words that escaped were, "You still fix things." Liam smiled faintly. "Some things can't be fixed," he said gently. "But I try." She wanted to tell him she was sorry. That she had spent years chasing success but losing herself. That his letter had reminded her what truly mattered. But all she could do was hand him the same piece of paper she'd found in the safe, now worn with her tears. "You were right," she whispered. "I forgot who I was. But I want to remember again." Liam studied her face, searching for the truth behind her words. And for the first time in years, he saw the same light in her eyes, faint, fragile, but real. He didn't need promises or apologies. He simply nodded. "Then let's start there."